Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood, and today we're going to be learning all about mac and cheese. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. Many people say that the US President Thomas Jefferson actually invented macaroni and cheese in the late 1700s. The story goes, he drew up designs for specific pasta shapes and created the special cheddar cheese blend served at official state dinners. What do you think? Is this an actual fact or a bit hard to swallow? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is emulsification. That's emulsification. Emulsification is the scientific process of blending two liquids that normally do not mix, like oil and water, into a smooth mixture that stays together. Emulsification is part of the magic that makes macaroni and cheese. Cheese contains both fat and water. When you heat it up, these two parts will separate unless a special ingredient called an emulsifying agent holds them together. The word emulsification comes from Latin roots. Ex means out and mulgere means to milk. Combining them, you get the Latin word emulgere, which means to milk out. Scientists first used that term in the 1600s to describe how some liquids look like milk when mixed with water. Today, chefs create smooth emulsions in cheese sauces by adding starches, proteins, or a salt called sodium citrate. These ingredients keep the fat from separating from the liquid. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about mac and cheese. Number 1. The earliest recorded recipe similar to our modern mac and cheese is from a 14th century English cookbook. The recipe appears in The Forme of Cury, a book written by the master chefs of King Richard II around the year 1390. The text describes a dish called macarons. It told cooks to layer thin pieces of boiled dough with grated cheese and melted butter. Chefs served this dish at royal feasts using imported cheeses and hand-rolled pasta sheets. The recipe did not use milk or cream. Instead, it relied entirely on the heat of the fresh dough to melt the cheese. History experts note that Italian cookbooks from the same era, like the Liber de Cucina, had similar recipes. These early versions used Parmesan or local sheep's milk cheese instead of the cheddar we often use today. Back then, the dish was a luxury item only for the wealthy. This was because making flour and cheese by hand took a huge amount of work. It took several centuries for machines to mass-produce pasta and make these ingredients affordable for ordinary people. Number 2. Kraft Foods introduced the first boxed macaroni and cheese dinner in 1937 during the Great Depression. A salesman in St. Louis is said to have come up with the idea. He saw a local shopkeeper attaching packets of grated cheese to pasta boxes with rubber bands. Kraft patented the idea and sold boxed meals for 19 cents. They advertised that a single box could feed a family of 4. The company sold 8 million boxes within the first year alone. The product became an instant hit because it gave families a cheap source of protein during hard economic times. Sales grew even more during World War II because of government food limits. Shoppers could buy 2 boxes of Kraft dinner using just 1 food ration stamp. This led to 80 million boxes being sold in 1943 alone. And the boxed pasta's long shelf life made it a really convenient staple to have on hand in households all across the country. Today, factories make hundreds of millions of boxes every year to meet the global demand. Number 3. Canada has the highest per person consumption of boxed macaroni and cheese in the world. On average, Canadian shoppers buy 3.2 boxes of Kraft Dinner per person every year. That's a consumption rate 55% higher than the United States. Every week, about 7 million boxes are made globally, and Canadians buy about 1.7 million of them. Market research says this high demand comes from historical trends and excellent distribution setups from the mid-20th century. Kraft Dinner, sometimes referred to simply as KD, arrived in Canadian grocery stores just as more families were moving into big cities and looking for quick, easy meals. Since then, it's become a must-have in college dorms and household pantries across the country. In fact, surveys show that over 80% of Canadians eat the dish at least once a year. Number 4. As of the time of this recording, the Guinness World Record for the largest pot of macaroni and cheese was 4,742 pounds. A food company named Schreiber Foods in Logan, Utah, set the record on July 29, 2022, to celebrate their 50th anniversary. To make the giant dish, hundreds of employees worked together outside for 3.5 hours. They used 2,047 pounds of cooked macaroni, 1,055 pounds of cheese, 1,199 pounds of whole milk, and 160 pounds of butter. The final dish served more than 2,000 people on site, and the rest was donated to a local food pantry. This giant batch completely crushed the old record from 2010. The previous record had been 2,469 pounds, made by the Cabot Creamery Cooperative and Chef John Fulce at Fulton Square in New Orleans, Louisiana. And our fifth and final fun fact for today: the cheese powder in commercial boxes goes through a special process called spray drying to stay fresh on shelves. Food scientists make the powder by melting real cheese into a liquid blend mixed with emulsifying salts. This liquid goes into a huge drying tower where a machine sprays it into a fine mist of tiny droplets. At the same time, a blast of hot air heated to around 350 degrees Fahrenheit or about 180 degrees Celsius blows through the chamber. This hot air dries up the water instantly, causing the solid cheese particles to fall to the bottom as a dry powder. Removing all the moisture stops bacteria and mold from growing without needing any artificial chemicals. The process keeps the fats and proteins safe, so the powder turns right back into a smooth cheese sauce when you add milk or butter. Spray drying was actually first invented in the late 19th century to preserve milk before scientists adapted it for cheese in the 1930s. This clever food preservation method keeps boxed mac and cheese safe to eat for up to a year. Now for some news you can use. If you want to elevate your homemade mac and cheese game, here are a few tips the pros swear by. First, shred your own cheese from a block. It's tempting to buy bags of pre-shredded cheese at the grocery store, but those bags have a secret ingredient. Food factories coat pre-shredded cheese in cellulose, a plant-based powder that keeps the shreds from sticking together. Unfortunately, that powder also prevents the cheese from melting smoothly, which leaves your sauce grainy. For the ultimate mac and cheese, you're going to want to shred your own block of a strongly flavored cheese like sharp cheddar, smoked Gouda, or Swiss Gruyere, with about an equal amount of a good melting cheese like Monterey Jack or mozzarella. Next, layer in some seasonings. Chefs will often add a bit of ground dry mustard powder to their cheese sauce. Now, I know you might be thinking you don't want it to taste like mac and mustard, but don't worry. Adding just like half a teaspoon won't be overpowering. The natural compounds in the mustard seed actually bring out the sharpness in the cheese, making it taste richer. You could also consider a dash of garlic powder to make it a bit more savory. And finally, save a bit of the starchy pasta water you cook your noodles in for emulsification. Before you dump your cooked noodles into a colander, scoop out about half a cup of that cloudy cooking water. If your cheese sauce looks a bit dry or begins to separate on the stove, stir a small splash of that cooking water into the pan. The dissolved starches act as a natural stabilizer, bringing the melted fats and liquids back together and giving your sauce that perfect creamy texture. Finally, the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked, do you think Thomas Jefferson really invented macaroni and cheese? This one's a fallacy, although I guess there is a little nugget of truth buried in there. While Jefferson didn't invent the dish, he did play a massive role in making it popular in the United States. While working as an American diplomat in France from 1784 to 1789, Jefferson ate many macaroni dishes and wrote down how to make them. Jefferson later brought a pasta machine back home to Virginia. He ordered his staff to serve macaroni pie at a White House congressional dinner in 1802, and as is so often the case, leaders can be quite literal tastemakers, and the dish became more popular, spreading across America. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about mac and cheese with me today. Be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.